continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injured have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues. Sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths. Untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live broadcast from New York City. I'm your host, Susan Tehrani. First, let's take a look at this hour's headlines. As West Asia braces for a potential Israeli retaliation, Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi warns that the tiniest invasion would bring a massive and harsh response. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tells visiting foreign ministers of Britain and Germany that Israel has every right to protect itself, rejects claims of famine in Gaza. James Cameron and Anna Barbach urged Netanyahu not to escalate tensions in the Middle East. Meanwhile, the Netherlands will hand over another 3 F-16 fighter jets to a Ukrainian pilot training facility in Romania. Training and maintenance for Ukrainian pilots and ground staff on F-16 jets is already underway. Dozens of Google employees in New York and California hold demonstrations and sit-in protests voicing their objection against the company's billion-dollar contract with Israel. Sources say Tesla chief Elon Musk set to announce $2 to $3 billion worth of investment in India when he visits the country over the weekend. Musk is expected to unveil plans for an electric car facility in the world's third largest auto market. Flooding troubles continue in the UAE and across the region in the second day after record rains, streets clogged in Sharjah. 18 killed in Oman due to the downpour. Rory McIlroy is a PGA Tour man for life. The 4-time major winner empathetically shut down rumors linking him to LIV Golf. As West Asia braces for a potential Israeli retaliation after Iran's weekend attack, Tehran is warning it will use weapons never used before against Israel if it carries out an attack. Watch our next report for more.
In the face of the Israeli threat of retaliation, Iran says it is putting together a terrifying arsenal of anti-craft launchers and fighter jets. It is also threatening to fire weapons that have never been used before. All this, it says, to present a severe, extensive and painful response to even the slightest action by Israel.
If the Zionist regime makes the slightest move to violate our territory and harm the national interests of the Islamic Republic, they must understand that they will face a severe and heavy response.
Iran's warning has been accompanied by a parade of its drones, missiles and soldiers to show it is ready for any response from Israel. Over the weekend, Iran launched hundreds of missiles and kamikaze drones at Israel. This was in response to a purported Israeli strike on Iran's embassy compound in Syria's Damascus on April 1st. Among the 12 people killed were 2 Iranian generals. While Israel claims 99% of Iranian projectiles were neutralized and has pledged to retaliate hard, it is refusing to say when and how.
We cannot stand still from this kind of aggression. Iran will not get scot-free with this aggression.
The British Foreign Secretary David Cameron and his German counterpart Annalena Baerbock are the first Western envoys to visit Israel. They are urging calm, but it seems unlikely that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is paying heed.
It's clear the Israelis are making a decision to act. We hope they do so in a way that does as little to escalate this as possible.
Iran is calling the barrage of missiles fired on Israel as an act of self-defense. After the deadly airstrike on its consulate in Syria, it has said that it will consider the matter concluded unless Israel retaliates. All eyes are now on Netanyahu's next move. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, for more on this, we are being joined by Sergei Sumelny from Berlin. He is defense expert and a director at European Resilience Initiative Center. Thank you so much for joining us on WION. Iran now says that it will use weapons never used before should Israel retaliate. Is Iran threatening the use of nuclear weapons?
Hello, and thank you for having invited me today to your show. It's always a pleasure. Well, we know that the threats from Iran are always pretty unconcrete, and that is part of the psychological warfare which Iran is using all the time. It doesn't announce anything specific, but allows the counterpart to interpret to the extent as large as possible. And we know that the war is the path of lie, and as more the enemy believes that you are strong when you're weak, and you're weak when you're strong, that's better for you because the enemy cannot take the right decision. I think that here Iran has its vital interest to make the threat as unconcrete as possible.
What about the Biden administration? It appears that it's walking a tight diplomatic line to calm tensions. What are your thoughts about how President Biden is handling this chaos?
Well, we can see that the support of Israel by the Biden administration is pretty large and massive. And here, I think that one of the reasons for that is to sort of de-escalate the situation, because like the last thing which the U.S. has interest in is that Israel retaliates massively and probably using nukes. So, in order to prevent Israel from designing the retaliation action in a broad way and in a way which is not in interest of the U.S., as I said, for example, using nukes, the U.S. demonstrates a broad presence in the region and says literally the Israelis, look, take it easy, stay calm, we will do the job, we will do the rest, you don't intervene. And I think that for Biden it is, and for the U.S. overall, it is in their interest to keep this conflict between Iran and Israel as low as possible, because just the U.S. cannot fight on many fields. The U.S. has Ukraine, from where the U.S. is pulling out. The U.S. has Iran now. The U.S. potentially has Taiwan and China conflict. So they don't have an interest in escalating of this conflict.
Okay, very interesting. Well, thank you so much, Sergei Sumelny, for joining us from Berlin on WION. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon as we follow this story very closely, of course.
Thank you for the invitation.
The United States has warned more sanctions on Iran after its drone attack and missile attacks on Israel. U.S. officials said that the new sanctions to cut down Iran's military capabilities will be announced in the coming days. It has also said that it expects more Western allies to take similar action. Take a listen.
With respect to sanctions, I fully expect that we will take additional sanctions action against Iran in the coming days. From this weekend's attacks to the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, Iran's actions threaten the region's stability and could cause economic spillovers.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said President Biden is coordinating with partners including the G7 and bipartisan leaders in Congress, on a comprehensive response. The action will be taken to target Iran's missile and drone program, as well as the Revolutionary Guard and the Iranian Defense Ministry. Earlier, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said actions seeking to reduce Iran's capacity to export oil could also be taken. She added that the U.S. is looking to work with G7 partners and countries, including China, to constrain Iran's ability to access goods needed to build weapons. The G7 nations are meeting in Italy amid soaring tensions in the Middle East. Meanwhile, EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the bloc is working to expand its sanctions on Iran in response to Tehran's attack on Israel. Washington's current sanctions on Iran ban nearly all U.S. trade with the country. They also block the government's assets in the U.S. and prohibit U.S. foreign assistance and arms sales. U.S. concerns have included Iran's nuclear program, human rights abuses, and its support for groups that the U.S. sees as terrorists. Getting other partners to impose multilateral sanctions on Tehran is seen as a significant move by the U.S. to do more in this regard. Meanwhile, House Republican leaders have accused President Biden of failing to enforce existing measures. They are promising to take up a series of bills to sharpen the sanctions against Iran. Among them is legislation that will increase congressional oversight of sanction waivers, tighten restrictions on the export of U.S. goods and technology to Iran as well. The measure will require the administration to ensure humanitarian exemptions to the sanctions do not facilitate terrorism or the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Dozens of Google employees here in New York and California held demonstrations and sit-ins and protests to voice their objection against the company's billion-dollar contract with Israel. Our next report tells you more. Moving on to another important story that we've been tracking for you all week, Donald Trump's hush money trial. It has picked up an unexpected speed. 7 out of the 12 jurors have been picked up on the second day of the trial after more than 50 were dismissed on day one. It was anticipated that jury selection could take weeks, as finding jurors who do not hold any bias against President Trump would have been challenging. The process now continues to choose a panel of 12 members and 6 alternates who can be fair to the former U.S. president who is seeking re-election this November. President Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. He could face up to 4 years in jail. Only a unanimous verdict will get him convicted. Even one dissenting voice would see him walk free. Tuesday's process started with jurors going through a questionnaire phase in which they were questioned by the district attorney's office and Trump's lawyers as well. The panelists selected include an information technology worker, an English teacher, an oncology nurse, a sales professional, a software engineer, and 2 lawyers. During the process, Trump appeared composed and was frequently flipping through the process, often leaning back in his chair. And in one instance, Donald Trump was audibly muttering while one of the jurors was speaking. The judge residing the trial said to Trump that he won't tolerate any intimidation against jurors in his courtroom. Trump has called Judge Juan Merchan as conflicted. He also called the gag order against him as being unconstitutional.
We are going to continue our fight against this judge. We think he's totally conflicted. He's a conflicted judge.
There shouldn't be a gag order. Let me just tell you. The gag order is totally unconstitutional. The judge should not be there. The judge is highly conflicted. He should not be there.
No other former president in U.S. history has faced a criminal trial. The hush money trial is the first of 4 criminal cases that will begin against Donald Trump. Selecting the jury is the first step in the trial, which is expected to feature testimonies of several key characters in the case. They include Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, and Trump's personal lawyer, who went to prison over the scandal.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. This is a great group. This is a great group right here. You don't get better. Good photography.
North Korea is installing surveillance cameras in schools and workplaces. Why? Well, reports say the government wants to monitor its citizens even more closely. Researchers warn that the increase in digital surveillance could further limit North Korea's ability to engage in private activities and access foreign media. The surveillance technology combines equipment from China with domestically developed software. Video surveillance has become more common in various settings, including schools, workplaces, and airports, as well as the government tries to enhance security and prevent theft. Additionally, cameras sourced from Chinese vendors range from basic models to advanced ones with features like facial recognition. State media reports that the cameras are now present in most schools in North Korea's capital, Pyongyang, and other major cities that enable remote monitoring of students and staff in classrooms. Can you give me a few minutes?